Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Tai'Shar Manetheren, a Wheel of Time podcast. I am a very excited Will.
And I am an excitable Sam.
I like that. Good adjective, like good way to follow up. And we're here continuing on with our episodes about the television show. Yes, there still is news about the television show, even though we're coming to you from quarantine.
Possibly more news, if anything. You know, you figure like Rafe was like sick and at home and in quarantine. He's like, I might as well answer questions.
Right. Yeah, worked out for the fans. Both of our states finally issued the shelter-in-place order.
Yeah, they were both a bit tardy in that regard. I think both governors kind of took some flack for for waiting so long, but here we are.
Yep. What are you going to do? It's the South.
Indeed.
How's life?
Going on 3 weeks here at home myself. I'm lucky to have a job in which I can work from home. Of course, my wife is a teacher, and she has been home for the same amount of time. So, you know, I think I'm headed into that kind of like Great Depression mindset. I actually made bread today. It's pretty good bread, actually. You know.
Of course, I've been home too. It's just me and my dog Zeus. He's really enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, I feel like dogs of America are living their best lives right now.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It's going to be a real shock for them when we all go back to work at some point.
Yeah, they have no idea what's going on, but they're loving it. They're like, he's home all the
time. So much attention.
Right. Well, enough about that. Just this past month, in place of normal March Madness, winteriscoming.net had a Fandom Madness event kind of on their Twitter account where they had a series of polls. I think it may have started with like 32 different characters from different fandoms. You had them from Star Wars and Game of Thrones and Firefly and just about everywhere. And people would vote between these two, which one's the best. And they had a couple of different Wheel of Time characters in there. Rand got knocked out pretty quickly because they put him up against Jon Snow.
I get it. I don't agree with it, but I get it.
Right. Yeah. Because in real life, Rand would just totally decimate Jon Snow, just like he's gone. But it was interesting because Moraine not only made it to the final four and then the final, she won the whole thing, beating out Han Solo.
Which is just crazy considering this is the Winter is Coming like poll, and Winter is Coming, of course, the URL at least is dedicated to Game of Thrones, and I am sure it's a website that talks about other stuff, but you know, it's just kind of, it is ironic to me.
It's pretty telling because what it says is that, first of all, the Twitter of Time community is not to be trifled with, and second of all, there is a pretty large and growing fan base that is excited about this television show, and so that to me indicates that it's likely that if, you know, the show is beloved by those fans, that it will succeed because you do have a pretty rabid fan base ready to jump on that content as soon as it comes out.
Heck yeah.
So Sam, you want to offer us a spoiler warning?
Yeah, you know, if you're wary of spoilers and you haven't finished the books, probably not the best episode to tune into. You know, with the show, sort of everything is fair game. You know, tune back in next week. We're going to finish up Fires of Heaven. Then we'll be into the Lord of Chaos. So feel free to hop back in there, read along with us, all that jazz. But otherwise, feel free to join us. But consider yourself warned. You may be spoiled.
Yes.
Tonight.
So
today, whenever you're listening to this.
I mean, we don't plan on like telling you the details of the last battle, including like the Batman cameo or
right.
any of that stuff. But it might come up is all I'm saying.
You know, a relic of the first age.
It's true.
I was thinking about that. Maybe this is how we transition into the age of legends, you know, the coronavirus.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. What if people start channeling all of a sudden? That's
right. It'd be a side effect symptom of, I shouldn't joke about that, but you know.
Yeah. Even though we are super bummed that Jordan Con is canceled.
Yeah, it's not surprising, but bummed anyway.
Yeah, bummed. But also in one way, I think I realize like I'm pretty grateful that at this point, I mean, like you say, we're like 3 weeks into this. That's the thing that's probably bummed me out the most so far, personally.
Yeah, exactly. Like we haven't gotten it. We haven't. I mean, I don't know anyone yet that's had it. It's kind of
I know people who know people, but right. I don't know anybody personally, and I still have my job. And,
Amen. Me too. Yeah,
been able to work from home. Really kind of enjoyed this.
I have
this
too.
time
There have been
bit.
times I've gotten a little stir crazy, but like yesterday, I went out and worked with a chainsaw a little bit, so I got that out of my system. It was nice.
Yeah, and I take Zeus on walks regularly. For which he's very grateful.
Yeah, of course.
So we're sad that we're not going to Jordan Con, because we were looking forward to being able to maybe meet some of you guys there, do a couple of interviews, do a little recap of the event the following week. But all that's not going to happen now. We'll look forward to it next year. And by that time, hopefully, the show will have been released. So there'll be even more to discuss. So moving on into the official TV show updates, stuff that have come to us through official channels. So yes, the show has stopped production.
Yeah, that not surprising that you figure that most TV shows, movies have done so. Like, this is moved back. Like, there's going to be a gap of television we're not going to have. Like, we're going to, that's just going to be delayed as a result of this.
Yeah, I think of the writers' strike that happened back when.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
We were like
comparison.
in college,
yeah.
And how there was this. It was like a 3 or 4 month period where there was no new TV.
Right, there's like some
shows,
like some late night shows were like trying to soldier on, and like the quality notably dropped.
Right,
like you just goes to show how important the writing is. Rafe said they were doing post-production on what they had filmed, and so it really just raises the question, like, well, okay, so say you finish all that and then you don't get to go back and film for, I don't know how long. I mean, how long could it be? Would they be willing to release those X number of episodes on their own? And that's obviously a question for Amazon executives, but
right.
It could be interesting. I'd be okay with them doing that for sure.
Yeah, well, and I wonder if it's not going to increase the chances of them going with a weekly release, since
buy them more time to get the next episode out or what have you.
Right. And since they seem to be largely able to film in an episode in a couple of months, and they seem to have been mostly through with like almost the first 4 episodes, they may have not been totally done with the 4th one yet.
Just, finish it in CG. We won't notice.
No, please don't do that.
No, don't.
Hopefully it won't come to that.
Yeah, right. Release a graphic novel like Smallville did.
Right. Yeah. Season 10. Right. It's so funny because I'm looking at it right now on my shelf.
Nice. And I love that the crazy Crisis on Infinite Earths CW crossover treated that as canon.
Yeah.
Like they said that, like going into the cameo, the Tom Welling cameo in Crisis on Infinite Earths, are like, we treat the graphic novel season 10 as canon. So anyway.
Yeah.
It's very, very relevant to what we're talking about.
No, I see it as completely relevant. One day, Sam and I might do a general nerd stuff podcast if that interests you guys, and because eventually we will run out of books and Wheel of Time TV show to talk about it.
It'll be probably my kids will be in college or what have you, but at some point we'll get through these books.
So the good news is, in spite of the fact that they have stopped production, in Rafe's Q&A, which we'll get to a bit more later, they are deep into post-production on the episodes they've shot, and they are still in pre-production and writing for season 2. So they're able to do a lot of work on editing and VFX, and to me that's encouraging, because it's hopeful it won't hold things up too much,
right? And
might even speed up or shorten the gap between seasons 1 and 2 when they finally are able to release one. Maybe they'll have more of 2 pre-produced, so they can jump right on it as soon as
that's a good point, because pre-production is not something that has to be done in person per se. It's a lot of planning and that sort of thing, and maybe hiring and casting. So
Brandon Sanderson did an interview with the Dusty Wheel. If you're not familiar with the Dusty Wheel, they're a YouTube channel that does long format interviews with Wheel of Time folks. This isn't the only interesting one. They've done several good ones. his has some pertinent stuff about the TV show. They also interviewed Sarah Nakamura, and you can go and see both of those on the Dusty Wheels YouTube channel. The Brandon Sanderson one is over an hour and a half, so obviously we're not going to cover a lot of it.
The man is a talker. I've seen him at Dragon Con a couple of times. I've saw that man talk about the cover to Warbreaker for like an hour.
Yeah. Clearly is a nice guy, but yes,
he warms to his topic and he really gets going. It's excellent.
Yeah. So the thing that I was most fascinated by, I guess, or concerned by was, he talked a little bit more about those things that maybe were concerning him.
And I appreciate that he's putting that out there and not just trying to just be a cheerleader for it. Like just being candid that, hey, they've made choices that I wouldn't make, and that's okay. Like that's this is their show. They can do that. It's still going to be good, but there are things I disagree with, basically, which I like. Right. I like that he's saying that for sure.
That's pretty much a summary of what he says. Really, in a lot of ways, it's pretty encouraging that he feels good enough about it that he can say, look, there are one or two things that I am concerned about. I can't tell you what they are, but I am concerned about them. And he said one thing in particular he doesn't like. He just really doesn't like. And, he said there are maybe another thing or so that is what he said was divisive among fans. And,
sure.
But he really emphasized afterwards that he's still very much upbeat. And I think the fact that he's willing to say, look, there are things I don't like, yet he wants to come back and say, but I'm still excited about it, speaks to this is good enough that it can overcome those things that are going to be divisive among fans, that people are still going to want to watch it.
Right, for sure.
We had a few Q&As. Of course, Rafe's was the biggest, and we'll get to that one in a sec. Priyanaka Bose, who we love because she is so active on social media.
Right.
She's the one that
lots of stuff for us to talk about.
On her Q&A, not a ton of stuff. I thought the most interesting thing was when somebody asked her, is our Elaine beautiful? She said, I haven't met her yet. Which,
telling. If it's filmed elsewhere away from where they've been filming, so there are ways you could explain it where Elaine is in season 1, but Priyanka just hasn't had a chance to meet the actress. That's
right.
Possible.
Yeah, that seems likely
less,
to me too.
Yeah, it seems. Yeah, I could see either way. I don't know.
Probably the most important thing that happened in her Q&A is that I asked her a couple of questions, and honestly, I couldn't even tell you what the other ones were. I think she may have answered them, but I didn't think she would do it. I said, "Will you give a shout out to the Tai'Shar Manetheren podcast?" And so she did. and posted that question and tagged us in it. And it was like. So we continue to get love from the cast, and we're loving that. Okay, we gotta talk about the big one, Rafe's Q&A, and there is a lot to talk about here.
Yeah, he really opened up.
Did you get a chance to look at some of the questions?
Yeah, I found a video where somebody posted the whole thing, so watched it all.
So as we talked about, he assures that while production has stopped for season 1, that they're both in pre-production for 2 and post-production for 1.
Probably lots of zooming going on.
Yep, I suspect a lot of transferring of files and looking at different things. Another thing I thought was interesting, people ask about Harriet McDougal's involvement. Harriet is Robert Jordan's widow and editor, and he just says she's hugely involved.
Right, which is awesome. But because Harriet's the reason Brandon got hired to finish the series. Like, she clearly is an expert, on the subject matter, deeply cares about the legacy that that we would hope that she wasn't involved with that awful pilot that Red Eagle did.
She was not. she was definitely not
about it.
Yes.
That's true. She was
she was upset.
Right. So she's definitely someone who is good to be involved in. And it makes me think that any change that they made, she would have had to have signed off on it. Otherwise, you figure she probably had to. Otherwise, she would have been, raising Cain about it. So it makes me think that they're probably sensible changes, that are like make
Hopefully,
sense
yeah.
for translating to another medium.
Yeah.
Anyway, her involvement definitely helps. I saw also that someone asked how involved Brandon is, and he said,
Right.
well, he's had some input. I would get him more involved if he would let me.
Yeah.
Which is fair. I'm sure Brandon is a very busy man writing his own stuff.
Exactly. Well, and I think he's been fairly generous with his involvement, considering it's really, it's not his property.
Volunteer and I'm sure.
And I'm just glad he's willing to give notes and offer thoughts as a person who has, in a lot of ways, been the only other person to be in the position that Rafe is in now.
Very, very well put.
And to be a steward of the story, after Robert Jordan, and so I'm hoping Rafe is heeding his advice, because I think he would have had the opportunity to kind of learn from possibly some things that he looks on as maybe mistakes even.
Right.
So. Let's see. Well, it's important that Bella is double cast. There's actually 2 horses.
Right.
I thought it was funny.
It. Yeah.
He said, you need a horse to be ridden, and also a different horse to pull a cart, because they're different kinds of horsey skills.
Sure. That's like a horse stunt double.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense. But he described Mandarb and Aldib as sexy, which I
okay, man,
was funny.
Awesome.
There were a lot of people that were starting to theorize that Min might not be in the series, or somehow they were going to combine.
His response is confusing. Is this just some acronym I don't know? It's TWWA TWW. What is that?
I think it's supposed to be the wheel weaves as the wheel wills. Yeah.
Come on, man! Don't make an acronym out of that.
Limited space on Instagram stories, I guess. He does say that they will not be merged into one character, and he's kind of evasive about who will appear. Those I read later, and I didn't see this, but somebody said that he indicated that we would see Min in season 1, but I didn't see that.
Yeah.
So I don't know where that was, but it sounds like it's that all 3 characters are safe based off of his response, and that's the main takeaway. He does admit that there are some new characters that are either combinations of existing characters or inspired by existing characters, and this doesn't make sense to me.
The combining one I get, but as we've said before on this podcast, there are over 2,000 characters. You don't need new characters. You don't need them.
Yeah,
just pick the ones you have, combine where you need to, but don't. I don't like.
And we know that characters are going to be changed. That's just part of adaptation. So why? I don't know. So this one, this may have been the most interesting bit to me. Somebody asked if we would see any Aiel aside from Rand in season 1, and he said yes, and the one that you will see will shock you. So let the speculation begin.
Right. Maybe Avienda. I don't know.
Avienda to me seems like, in one way, I would be shocked, but now that he said that, I'm like, wait, well, is that the most shocking one?
Right.
I don't know.
Couladin.
Yeah. I guess Avienda would make the most sense.
Yeah, exactly. She would.
So, and I kind of hope so. I think
it'd be a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it'd be good to introduce all of them really as soon as possible, all of those kind of principal characters. So it was asked about CG effects versus practical effects, and he assured that they're doing as many practical effects, as much in camera as possible, and not just relying on CG effects. Obviously, there are some things in this that are going to be CG. We're not going to see weaves without computer generated imagery.
Yeah, I just imagine them putting like a little miniature flamethrower nozzle like under their hands.
Right.
Weave fire.
Go back and watch like C movies from like the 60s, 70s, and see what we could have gotten.
There was like an old Spider-Man movie where he like shoots a web and you can obviously see this like little white box.
Yes. That it's like silly string kind of stuff.
Right.
Was it the Japanese one, the Subtitle Man?
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, it could have been.
It's that one's pretty amazing. If you should check out the Honest trailer for it because it gives you a pretty good summary of all of its majesty. But yes, they're doing as many practical effects as they can. But apparently, he is just super psyched about the way the CG, the visual effects, are looking right now. And he said that the first time he saw Rosamund Channel, that he screamed.
He said it was expletive awesome.
Yes.
Hey, building it up, man. You're building it up. It better be as cool as you say.
Yeah, you better deliver. I'm just saying. Yeah, I mean, I've often hoped that the first time we see Moraine Channel, that it is very dramatic and kind of mind-bending and makes you just go yes.
Okay, I was just watching it. There is somebody asked blink twice if Min is in season 1, and he does 2 blinking emojis. So it seems likely that Min is in season 1, which would
go.
She should be.
She should be, yeah, absolutely. I think Elaine should be too, but I'll manage if she's not.
Right. Somebody asked him which WoT book title best describes your self-isolation experience, and he said A Memory of Light.
Depending upon how you could take that could be kind of dark.
It could, yeah.
I was encouraged by his "we are cutting less than people think" statement.
Yeah, right. He said anytime somebody asks him like if he's merged Elaine and Min, it blows his mind. Like there's no way I could do that kind of thing, which is good.
Right.
Good. We're glad to hear you say that. Say more things like that.
Yeah. Somebody asked him what his favorite set was, and he said Faldara, and his favorite prop is the Great Serpent Ring.
He has promised us a big WoT Wednesday during the hiatus, so that's something to look forward to, I guess.
Right, but it still indicated that a trailer was still a ways off.
Yeah, so. Right, which is kind of bummer.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean we couldn't get footage of some kind.
True.
Even if it's just like a real brief. But I think we can all agree on behalf of the Daily Trolloc that the most important thing is he said he's not cut out Narg.
Excellent.
Yes, Narg the Trolloc will make an appearance. So that's just, really he's the true protagonist of the Wheel of Time. I guess if you actually ascribe to that, then it's a pretty short series. I don't mean to spoil anything for you.
That's true. Well, we have declared spoilers open season, so
but Narg gets killed.
Dies.
So.
It's not like saying Hazel dies and Watership Down.
Yeah, actually, I would love it if Narg just survived and pops up a few different places, not consistently, but just once a season, Narg just shows back up for like a scene, not
just to talk to somebody,
right? Yeah, nothing like Jar Jar Binks. Okay,
no.
Just a few seconds of
just translating for some Trolloc to a Murdral, right, or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
He wants a cheeseburger, Hank.
Ah, yes, Hank the Murdral. Handful of unofficial updates and possibly some news and or theories on our Instagram. You can go look now. You will find a photo that we think is the first photo of Moraine as she will appear in the series. It's very
and it's like that's great, but I want more. This is not.
Yes,
it's too close up.
Yeah.
Like you just see like this high collar blue like riding dress, maybe or maybe not. Like we don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I will say it's funny. The first time I saw it, I actually didn't even notice it was Rosamund Pike until
I didn't either. Yeah,
I read the caption and then I looked and I was like, oh yeah, that is her. And I mean, it's amazing how much you throw on a dark colored wig
and changes the way somebody looks. Yep.
This if this is indeed a photo, which it seems likely it is, of Moraine as she appears, then that completely would confirm, yes, indeed, she is wearing a wig. She's not going to be blonde as Moraine.
Right.
I know some people were concerned about that. I just want to talk for a second about the fact that Narg on Instagram, the Daily Trolloc on Instagram, he created a WoT character Instagram filter. And so if you have Instagram, you can go and download this filter and find out what character you are. Of course, it's just a random seed generator, but just pretend like it's actually and what's been fun about that is that cast and crew have all gotten into it. So Rafe did it. The writers, some of them did it. The crew has done it. They've been showing the characters that they show up as. So that's been fun.
Heck yeah.
Lucy Hawkins.
Not to be confused with Sadie Hawkins.
Right. Not an actress that people know of, but she continues to show up on Instagram. And I had almost decided that she was not involved with Wheel of Time. She was in a few photos with Rafe and Taylor Napier and a few others that are involved in production. And I hadn't seen her in a while. And so I was beginning to think, okay, she's not involved. Well, then she posts a photo of her doing the WoT character Instagram filter and saying that she's missing Prague. So now I'm back to, she's definitely in it. But I'm like, who is she playing?
Right.
Paired with the interesting idea that maybe Avienda is in season 1, that's my current guess because...
I was going to say Elaine, but yeah, I could see that.
I could see her as Elaine, but my first thought when I saw her was Avienda. But I really do think she's playing a character. Either Elaine or Avienda would make sense as somebody who might drop in for an episode or something or a scene.
And then given what Priyanka said about not having not met the actress playing Elaine yet, it would suggest maybe Avienda.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
Do we know who Min is yet? No.
We don't.
So it could be Min. I mean, like, given
she
that doesn't really match the description typically, but as we've seen, that doesn't necessarily matter.
So on their Instagram, you can go and see what might be another set. We're not sure. I'm not sure about the source on this one. I really don't know how likely it is that it's an actual set. But
it's like a mine.
I was kind of wondering if it might be like Borderlands area because you are getting to like
kind of rocky tundra looking.
Right. Yeah. But I pictured Faldara more walled and a little bit more magnificent.
For sure.
Than that. But who knows? If it is a set, you can go take a look at our Instagram and see a picture of it. Again, it's very detailed. So
for sure.
It'll be interesting.
Rafe talks about they have a for real sword master who walks into every room and tests out everything as a weapon. And he's positive that the guy could kill him with anything in the office. So
that was a funny one.
It sounds like they're really, trying to spend some time on the choreography and making things authentic.
Right. Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's exciting. Really, if you get a chance to go look at any of the places online where somebody has written out all of the answers to from Rafe's Q&A, they're all kind of interesting. So, and you can
give us a lot.
Speculate with us. Other than that, I went on to Twitter on the podcast TSM account recently and threw out an idea to see if other Wheel of Time podcasters and content creators might be interested in creating a Wheel of Time satire radio drama. And overwhelmingly, people were very excited about this idea. And so now we've got to do it. And so I've been collaborating a little bit with a few different podcasters on ideas, trying to kind of just get a list of ideas together before we start actually writing a script. So
I'm psyched about it. It's a fun thought. The ideas that are out there, I love the idea. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, the challenge for me is like not biting off more than I can chew because we have we've got a ton of people that are interested in helping with this, and I would very genuinely love to get every person involved. But I also know that, unlike some folks, my job has not gotten less complicated. It's gotten busier.
Amen to that. Yeah, I have barely time in the day to sit down and like much less work on anything else. Like, even just getting the next podcast, our normal podcast out is going to be possibly a challenge, but we'll get there. For sure.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So we're hoping to do that. Have no idea. Maybe next year. We're, kind of like everything else right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Just at the very beginning stages of this thing. So if you have any funny ideas that you just want to throw at us on Twitter, go to podcast TSM on Twitter and just yell it at us. Just all caps.
So,
yeah.
So I was just gonna say I'm looking forward to. I know we still have one more episode of Fires of Heaven left, but I'm really looking forward to talking about Lord of Chaos and all the juicy Forsaken gossip.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Lord of Chaos has, I think a lot of fans would agree, it has one of the best battle scenes in it,
Mm-hmm.
and the
Definitely.
whole series. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, so we'll get to dive into that real soon. But yeah, until next time, Tai'Shar Manetheren.